Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar about creating textures in Corel Photopaint X6. My name is Mo Boimers. I'm a graphics designer, illustrator and artist based in Germany at my own company eConceptum. And thank you for watching this webinar, and I hope to give you some approaches on how to create textures successfully in Corel Photopaint. Let's get started right away. So the question I asked myself when preparing this webinar was, why about textures? And it's a very important question for me, just because textures have a major role in different design disciplines. So, oops, that was the wrong one. The fields where you can use textures are, for example, game and entertainment design, graphics design for logos or user interfaces, such like application interfaces or web interfaces, stuff like that. You can also use them in comic illustration or technical design and illustration to achieve more realistic results. And that's what I want to talk about in this webinar. Just let me show you some examples of there was the wrong one. Back to my Corel Connect. Some examples where I have used textures. Okay, it's actually not there, it's in this folder, so sorry for that. Comic illustration. As I have said, you can use textures in comic illustrations. I show you why and how. In this example, I have made a comic illustration with, I think it was with pencil on paper, and I've put that on the scanner and imported it into Corel Photopaint. Did some color adjustments, and as you can see, it has a very flat and dull color palette, mostly consisting of reds and blues and so on. And by applying a texture, I was able to elaborate this sketch or this drawing, this illustration a lot more. It has a very grainy texture, and just in order to have this texture only in the shaded parts, I've been working with a clip mask in this case. So that's a small example of a comic illustration. Just another example is this logo design, which I actually don't want to open in Corel Photopaint. It would take at least a couple of minutes, just because it's very huge. But I think you can see that right here. It has some textures in the background, some weathering textures at the badge right here, and the shadings of the skulls, and a lot of textures in this file. Vehicle concept, very common in design and game industry, just like this one. And I've used textures for this camel-like pattern on the hull of the vehicles, and for the weathering, like this rust and dirt patches on the sides. And it's a great fun to use textures in Corel Photopaint, especially when you are used to the CorelDRAW graphic suite. And let me show you how to create these textures later. First, I want to talk about some theoretical stuff, to give you some approaches to prepare before you actually create a texture. So the reason why I'm using Corel Photopaint for creating textures is it should mostly depend on the designer to create a successful, believable, reliable texture, so not on the tool itself. I saw a lot of people using, yeah, their favorite applications for textures, and heard them saying Corel Photo Paint would never be sufficient for creating textures. Luckily they are wrong. I'm working with a CorelDRAW graphics suite since 1996, I think, and never needed to switch to any other application. So it's up to you, and I want to show you why. When you're doing a design, no matter in which design discipline, it should always depend on you and your skills what the result might look like. So it's definitely the right way to let the tool do the job for you. Just because you become more dependent on the tool you use. So instead, rather use more tools, more applications, and get more into the basics of the design discipline you're working in, and you're fine. I would refer to that as rules of design, and once these rules are known to you, these rules can be physically or visually. So once the physical rules are known to you as a designer, you should be able to create the same effect or texture in any application you use. So you become independent of your tool, and the tool therefore becomes secondary. It actually makes sense. Just because the client hires a designer, just because he wants a certain result and don't want the result to be made from a tool, just because he probably would use the tool himself to save money and to avoid hiring a designer. So I hope this makes sense. Yeah, master the tool and never let it master you. The common job of a designer, no matter in which design discipline, is to visualize a certain idea or emotion or something like in this direction. And for this purpose, a designer is hired. That's the job of a designer. And in order to visualize something, you need to have the goal, the result already in mind. So just because you can only create something if you know what you want to have as a result, you know. So yeah, that's the first chapter. Just some more theoretical stuff. Just before we get to the fun part, so hope you guys don't mind. Let's talk about the requirements, or at least the things which I call requirements for successful texture design. I think there are in general 5 requirements you need to have as a designer, and which are tool independent, to create textures successfully. And textures are made out of physical rules in some cases, some more, some less. It depends on the type of texture you want to create. And these physical rules, maybe I can mention an example. For instance, Chrome. Chrome has a very recognizable physical rule, just because if you look at an object with a chrome surface, you might notice that it always has a kind of blue reflection at the top, representing the reflected sky. You have a light horizontal line on your object, and below that you have the reflection of your ground represented in warm colors. And anytime you apply this physical rule to any object, this is probably recognized as chrome. And once you know this physical rule, which you can also extract out from your visual library, which I want to talk about in a few seconds, then you are able to create a texture successfully. So there's another requirement, the technical construction. If you're hired, for example, to create a texture for a bulldozer hull, something like that, this is a very technical task. So you have to be, you need to have some reference material or a very strong visual library in the direction of mechanical textures, and you should be able to do some technical construction stuff. For example, I do these things entirely in Corel Photo Paint. Sorry, CorelDRAW, I mean, just because there's nothing so precise such as vectors. And there are also happy accidents when I create a texture. Happy accidents I call things or textures that are created accidentally. So, for example, if you combine a few reference images in different merge modes, you get a more random result, and this randomness you can use for happy accidents. You can elaborate them further and have something that haven't existed before, but is reliable enough to be recognized as something you want to create for the viewer. So there are reference images. To use reference images, I would say it's better not to use them directly for the textures, just because if you do that, you probably create something that has been created before or designed before, just because a lot of designers do this. I made this experience in the past when I was working for several design studios. The designers there have spent the most of the day searching for reference images for the user interface designs, and in some way this looks copied, kind of, just because in the internet you will probably find tons and tons of textures, but there is it might occur that one or two or three designers on Earth somewhere around the world have had the same idea. So I hope this gets clear. Last one, but very important, the visual library. And if you are a designer and you've studied design, you might know what I'm talking about. The visual library is something you have in mind. It's a very, very, very comprehensive and huge collection of images in your brain, in your mind, and you always have them at hand. And with this visual library, you are able to extract certain physical rules, which you then can use for creating textures. So visual library is one of the fundamentals of successful graphics design in general. And that's about the requirements. Now let's talk about the types of textures. I would divide them into three categories. And these three main categories are technical textures. These are organic textures. And the technical textures are textures for vehicles, for technical stuff, architectural stuff. And they are mostly constructed and not drawn. And the organic textures, well, I think you can, the majority of this category are natural textures such as grass or tree bark or wooden planks. So they are not constructible. At least it would look very odd to construct them. But within their randomness, they have certain rules. Tree bark has some certain rules which make the bark unique to a certain tree. So birch tree is different from oak tree, and it's about the physical rules that make them characteristic for each tree. So once you know these rules, you're able to create any bark texture for any tree anyway. So um, last important category are the abstract textures, and I would refer kind of sci-fi and alien skin textures which actually don't exist and which are not known to the viewer, belonging to this category. And the more you get into the abstract textures category, the more the lower is the value of authenticity. So you have to be careful if you do sci-fi stuff, for example, and you create textures which haven't been which weren't existing before, then you have to be careful that they are readable and believable enough for the viewer. That's called the value of authenticity. In the organic and technical textures, this is not a problem as long as you follow the certain rules, the physical rules in the organic textures, and yeah, the construction rules in the technical textures category. So yeah, that's about the types of textures. Let's get to the fun part, I think. So in this case, I've prepared 6, I would say, squares for creating textures. I want to show you some samples, and I'm not going to do that in a step-by-step manner. I just want to apply the rules which I have described before. So yeah, let's get started with, I would say, skin texture. Skin texture is very easy to make, but yeah, a very cool texture. So in order to get your skin texture looking realistic, you have to be aware what the physical rule behind skin texture actually is. So skin texture consists of a pattern-like surface. It has kind of like scratch-like a kind of scratch-like surface with imprints, and this effect can actually be achieved very simply in Corel Photo Paint. So let me go to Effects, and let me apply something called Voronoi cell texture, and where is it? It's just here. In Corel Photo Paint, it's not called Voronoi. This is referred to as a stained glass texture. Let me play a little bit with the size. About this. That might be good. Right here. Okay. Here you can adjust the solder width and the solder color, but we'll leave that as it is. And of course I have to adjust this object. Okay, that's right as I want it to have to be. Yeah, and I'm going to colorize it, but also in the same step I want to apply a bump map to it, a kind of relief, just because it's yeah, kind of a 3D surface, I would say. So it makes a huge difference if I'm creating textures for 3D purpose or 2D. In 3D, I separate the textures in several different types, such as bump map and color map, displacement maps, and stuff like that. And for 2D purpose, I just combine these, and I combine these into one texture file with different objects. So hope you get the idea. Let's use a more skinish color, such like this one. Light direction is okay. We can decrease the depth a little bit, and yeah, let's preserve the detail. But we will dial up the smoothness just a little bit, and as you can see, this looks like skin texture. By following the same approach, you also can create leather texture as well. And for this purpose, I'm going to use a slightly different effect, and this is called plastic. And oh, the settings are already done. So same light direction from the top. Depth is okay. Highlight is, can increase this a little bit. And as you can see, this looks, yeah, kind of leather. It's just as simple as this, and the same applies to viewer texture. And that's the next one I want to show you. For view texture, I need a kind of random, grainy, streaky texture. So I want to apply a kind of fractal noise at first. So I'm going to create a mask for this one in order to get it filled without filling the whole document. Then I'm going to click this little icon just at the bottom here on the left toolbar, double click it. I'm going, and then I tap on my texture fill icon, going to edit, and I think it was somewhere around here. Yeah, the clouds midday. And I use this texture a lot just because it provides a basic fractal noise texture, a cloudy texture. And just to mention that Corel PhotoPaint has many libraries with a huge amount of parametric textures, and parametric means you can always adjust certain settings in these textures, so you always can get different results with the same textures. Okay, let's take this one, apply a fill to my square, and now I'm going to Effects, Art Strokes, Scraper Board, and what it does is it takes the gray values of my texture, and according to these grayscale values, there are streaks, or kind of streaks applied to it, and the direction and the size of the streaks change according to the gray scale value. Hope this makes sense to you. Let's elaborate that one a little bit more. It looks just too artificial, so I'm going to distort, whirlpool, and here I can adjust the randomness just a little bit more, such like that. And I just want to even that one out just because there are too many dark areas in my texture. So I'm going to adjust, and with local equalization I can enhance my texture. And I actually don't know what it does in detail, but if you apply with this with these sliders for width and height, you might have an idea of what I want to show you. So I think we can use that one as viewer texture. Now we probably could do a color overlay, such like tiger stripes or something like that, but just want to show you another example. These are moon crates, and I can generate this texture out of two different texture fills. And first, let me set the transparency to locked. This gives the same result, so I can apply my fill to the rectangle. For the moon crates, I use my fractal noise texture again, Clicking the fill tool and fill it. It won't fill it. So I'm gonna use a mask instead. Yeah, let's apply this fractal noise texture. And I use this fractal noise texture to achieve kind of rocky surface, just because this grayscale values, the grayscale values in this texture are computed to elevated and imprinted areas. And yeah, what else do I need? As I said, I need a second object, so I'm going to duplicate that. And by having the duplicate selected, I'm going to use a fill with some blobs or orbs in it. Don't know where it was. Raindrops, maybe? No. It takes a long time to get through all these libraries. So and I use, to be honest, I use 5% of all libraries. So I'm working with Corel Photo Paint since 1996, I think, and with Corel Photo Paint, I've yet not been able to check out all textures which you can use in Corel Photo Paint. They are huge, and there's a massive amount of textures. So this seems to be the right one. Some spots, and let's decrease the count of spots. Maybe we can use some different spots, just like that. I'm going to apply a middle gray background color. The mid shade should be, yeah, I would say white, to have some kind of edge on the crates. And what is referred as light here, I'm going to change that to black. Yeah, that should work properly. So I'm going to apply this texture. And then I want to overlay this texture above the other with the merge mode. And in this purpose, I'm going to use multiply, I think. No. Hard light would work better. So then I'm going to combine both objects by doing a right click, going to combine, and then combine objects together. And now all I'm left to do is getting this grayscale values to a lit surface by choosing Effects, Texture, Relief, Sculpture. And here we are. As you can see, the light shines from above, and here we have our crates with a stony, grainy texture, and this is just fine. Yeah, what else? Wood texture, also very simple. It consists of vertical stripes, and therefore I'm going to apply something referred as curtain, I think. Curtain. I think it was somewhere here. Curtains. Yes, there it is. You might be able to recognize that as wooden texture. I think it's self-explanating, I think. So let's choose this one. Okay, let's apply this texture. My mask is at the wrong place. I'm going to apply a new mask. Here it is. I'm applying a wood texture. Now I can add some bumps, some shininess onto this texture, but I just want to show you another thing, which is the replace colors adjustment. this rarely looks like wood. Almost I think. Almost. Just a little bit brighter. A little less red. And just like, yeah, we're getting close to the result. Yeah, I think we can confirm that as wood. You might get the idea. Oh, another interesting example, but I wouldn't call that texture, I rather would call that effect. But for this case, I'm going to delete this rectangle. And instead, I'm going to use the font tool. Select the black brush color, foreground color, and what should we type in there? I think text is sufficient. Size it up. And I'm going to convert my object, my text object in Corel Photo Paint to an object, just because if I'm going to work on text objects in Corel Photo Paint, and with one undo step they switch back to the initial text, and all my adjustments are gone. So in order to avoid that, I'm going to render it as object. So having my text object selected, respectively my object which has been a text object previously, I'm going to duplicate that one. Then I'm going to Effects, Blur, and apply a Gaussian blur to make it more soft. I think 5 pixels should be sufficient. Then I'm going to Image, Transform, and invert the whole thing. Then I need to restrict this white soft text object to the sharp edges of my initial text object. I'm going to create a mask by hitting Control M. Then I select my blurred text object again. I'm going to hit Control X to cut the whole thing out. I think it has to be a little bit more fuzzy. So having this blurry object selected, I'm going to hit Control M again, and I need to soften up the mask. So I'm going to mask outline, feather, and I think this should be what I want to have. Again, I'm going to invert it to get rid of the contour. So Control X again, and that's what I want to have. Let's duplicate it to make it more visible. And now let's combine all text related objects together by combine objects together. Oh, I've missed a step. Sorry for that. I have to apply a clip mask, and I can do that by right click, create clip mask from object transparency. And the reason why I want to do that is I have to apply a linear fill to the text object, and I want it to restrict. I want the fill restricted to the text object. So I'm doing that instead of using a mask. And yeah, let's go to interactive fill, linear fill, and I need it from paint to paper, but in this case from white to black. So this has to be vertical and somewhere in the center of my text object. So it should look like something like this. Maybe a little bit more sharp edges like this. Okay, right. Then we can combine the whole thing. Combine objects together. And now I'm going to use the tone curve to create a metallic effect, something like chrome, but in grayscale only. And I can achieve that by using, yeah, this sinus-like curve. As you can see, this looks close to text, close to chrome. Of course, like text, but close to chrome. That's what I want to say. So maybe like this. Yeah, I think we can use that. Great. Now you can do a yellow brown overlay and confirm that as gold, or yeah, something like that. The last effect I want to show you is the fire effect. It's not a texture, as the same as this chrome effect. Fire is very simple, but takes some time to practice. So for the fire effect, I'm going to use, there are several ways to make fire, so I'm only going to show you one approach to achieve kind of a fire effect. And I type some random characters here. Let's use these. And I need a kind of brush force. This is great. Let's size that one up. By the way, you can achieve the you can use the same procedure for smoke as well. Okay. Now I'm going to distort that by going to Effects, Distort, Ripple. As you can see, this distorts my letters, and the more I play with these options right here, I'm going to change that to, yeah, kind of a wavy pattern. So maybe something like this. Oh, it needs some experimentation, so please be patient and stay online. Okay, this is what I want to have. Let's distort it just a little more. Up to this point, you can't read these letters anymore. I have to copy that. No, let me. Here you can see what I mean. If you maintain this object as text object, and you're going to apply any effect or adjustment, it just switches back right to the text object. So this is not that useful, but fortunately we have our last effect safe. Repeat ripple. Here it is. One more time. Yep. Great. And yeah, now I'm going to copy that one into my clipboard, and by having this one selected, I'm going to blur that one like this. And if it would be dark, then you have something like, yeah, a smoke effect. Then I'm going to paste in my clipboard contents, and here again I'm going to apply a distort ripple effect. Maybe a little bit too much. Yeah, like this should work. Before I'm going to apply another Gaussian blur to this one, I'm going to copy it to my clipboard again, and yeah, I'm going to paste in again, effects, repeat ripple. There it is. I forgot, actually I'm going to mess up my whole document, but anyway, I actually forgot to apply a Gaussian blur to the middle ones, so here we are. Okay, and this one to Gaussian blur. Okay, and the last object, paste it in, effects, distort, ripple. Here we are, and just a very small amount of Gaussian blur. Okay, this actually looks like smoke. But we just want to have fire, so I'm going to set all these 4 fire objects to the merge mode add. Then the lowest one, I'm going to color that one to red, so I want to replace the white color with, let's take a darker red, for instance this one, a dark red. This one should be light red to orange, so replace colors, and let's do that by adjusting the hue and the lightness, just like this. Okay, then this one should be orange, close to yellow, like this. And this one should be very light yellow, like this. And now by erasing several parts of this flame with a brush with a texture nib, I can achieve a more natural look. Let me do some brush nib adjustments, brush settings, pressure range. I prefer to set that one to 0, just because I'm using a stylus tablet, and yeah. If you create such an effect, you have to be careful not to erase too much, and for this purpose you also could you probably could use a clip mask as well, so might be a better choice in this case, I think. Yeah, just like this. Okay, you probably could do some more elaboration on this one, but I think you get the idea. So that's been 3 texture samples. So I hope you you got the idea of developing your own physical rules which make a certain texture characteristically, and how to transfer these physical rules into tools in your favorite application, in this case Corel Photo Paint, to achieve a certain result. So as you can see, I've used a sort of bump maps, relief maps, to achieve some 3D realism. In this moon crates example and the skin texture, I've used some randomness, organic stuff. For this viewer texture, I've used some adjustments according to the physical rules of Chrome, and I've used my visual library to create a wood-like texture, and by following this process of transferring the physical rules to workflows in your favorite application, you should be able to create any texture you want. So if you have an effect with a light effect, you can use merge modes to achieve the result. And we're close to the end. I hope you got the whole idea, and I hope you learned something. There are a few things I still want to show you, such as clip masks and how I use them in creating textures. And for example, if we want to have let's say some where is it, my moon texture? There it is. If I want to have some vegetation on this moon crates, let's say, I can use an overlay mask for this with cutouts and apply the green vegetation stuff only to areas where I want it. I did that in a past video which I've done about creating a 3D landscape, but I'm going to show you that in short. So just let me make a new mask and then duplicate this object, and here I'm going to fill in another, oh, that was the right fill mode, another fractal noise texture like this, and fill the object. And at first I have to make a mask consisting only of black and white values, and the black values will be cut off from my texture and the light values are maintained. So I just want to have the white areas remaining, so I'm going to image transform threshold, and here I can do my adjustments to extract only the lightest values according to a certain grayscale value, and the same with black, but that's sufficient. Then I have to adjust it a little bit more, and here I will increase the contrast to maximum to have only black and white values, and this one I'm going to use as a mask. But at first I have to create a new object where I want to apply the mask to. So I'm duplicating this one and fill it with some cool vegetation. I hope I can find it shortly. I think it was somewhere here. Nope. There it is. I can leave that as it is. It looks like trees, some patches of trees on grass, and this is a very cool texture for this purpose. So here it is. Now we have some trees on the moon, and to cut out the black areas of the texture I've created previously, I'm going to apply to create a clip mask from Object Transparency, and then I'm going to copy this one into my clipboard, this mask. Then I need to select my clip mask, and I'm going to edit, paste, and I'll paste it as new selection. And as you can see, my vegetation only applies to the light areas of my previously created texture. So here it is, trees on the moon. Another thing I want to show you is paint on mask. During this webinar I was asked if I use brushes to create textures. Well, in some cases yes. In some cases I try to avoid that, just because if you work with a brush you tend to create something repeatedly, you know. It's not created accidentally, it's not created randomly. You always tend to create something, yeah, where your muscle memory is automatically incorporated. I hope you get the idea. But anyway, here's my mask, my initial mask, and now I can grab a brush like this custom art brush, going to select the black color, and here I can paint on my mask. And if I turn that little icon off, you can see this equals the previously painted on black and white image. So what else? How can I create seamless textures, I've been asked. Well, that's very simple in Corel Photo Paint to do that. Let's grab this this viewer texture. I think is better for this purpose, and I just want to have a tiled seamless texture. From this I'm going to effects. Now let me cut that first. So now I have a clean rectangle. I'm going to effects, distort, and I think it was tile. Yes, that's been it. And I have to admit that this effect is the best applied to organic textures, just because you have this overlapping section right here, and if you apply this one to technical or very detailed textures, that might not look that good. So, but in this case it'll work. I will prove that just in a second by duplicating this one, and as you can see, this texture got seamless, became seamless actually. Here we are. That's about how to make texture seamless. Seamlessly. Another thing I want to show you is how to create textures and use them as brush nibs. That's easy as well. So I'm going to select this viewer texture, and I want to use that one as a brush nib. Then I select this one, copy it to my clipboard, then I create a new document from it. And in order to use this mask, this texture as a nib, I have to create a mask from it at first. So I'm going to work with a clip mask again, and I'm pasting in my object just like this. It's better to use a black background on that one. So here it is. Now I can combine the clip mask, and then I can press Ctrl M. Then I should have my mask. Yes, it's barely visible here, but it is there. Then I can open up my brush settings docker, selecting a brush. Then I have to click on this little tiny, very tiny triangle here, and then create from contents of mask. Here I can adjust my nib size, and there it is. So let's get back to the default brush. Don't want to mess things up. No. What size is used to make the textures? I've been asked. Well, it depends on the purpose for which the textures are being used. It is can be very different for 3D objects. For instance, I create textures as large as 2000 pixels, and yeah, it completely depends on the purpose your texture is gonna be used. So I have a larger folder of photos that are textures, 3x, all sort of things. What do I do with them in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite? Well, you can, there are several ways to use these textures. You can drag and drop them into your application to use them right away, to paint on them, and if you want to use them as textures, yeah, it's probably better to apply them as a pattern fill, I think, bitmap fill. Okay, so put them somewhere where you can find them, and just if you want to use this texture, go to bitmap, and here you can make the adjustments for bitmap fills, and by clicking this browse button you're able to select your folder. So that's one of several approaches you can use to use your textures. Last question is, can I change the pressure range of the brushes in the pen settings? Well, I expect this is not really related to the topic about textures, but anyway, it's also very simple. Just go to Tools, Options, and I think it was under General. Yes, it was. Here you can change your pen tablet, your stylus tablet settings. Click on Configure. Do 5 stripe strokes to get your Corel Photo Paint recognize your stylus tablet, and then click OK, and you're done. So yeah, that's everything. Got through the whole webinar. I think I hope I hope you learned something about creating textures, and yeah, thanks for watching, and till next time. Bye bye.